Okay. Season 3, Episode 2 and 3 presented a lot of kind of interesting philosophical questions. I'm half rambling and half transposing a fucking Reddit comment I left the day that Episode 3 came out because I wanted to talk a little bit more about it and maybe make a video on it to try and I don't know, kind of throw it out there and see what other people think. Now, before I begin this, the question of who is more correct between Mark and Cecil isn't really an easy question to answer. I think ultimately I'm on Cecil's side, but I can see why both of them acted the way that they did, and I think they both went about it in the worst fucking ways possible. I think they pushed each other way too quick and way too early because they were both kind of riding on their own self justified wave of paranoia.
Because you're scaring the shit out of me right now. I'm not even doing anything!
The big theme of the episode, kind of episode 2 and 3, maybe not the ultimate theme, but kind of outside the narration, more so what it's asking the audience in this aspect is, can criminals be redeemed? And I think we see this in Mark's kind of cognitive dissonance about the situation. He doesn't want to kill, he tells Oliver, don't kill people. He can't just kill people. He's been holding back, quote unquote, for 2 fucking seasons now, which I thought was going to be over after he beat the shit out of Angstrom, but I don't know, I guess he's still doing it. He doesn't want to kill, but he also doesn't want people to try and do good, make up for their past actions, atone in any way. His initial reaction to Darkwing and the Sinclair's Reanimen kind of saving the day in a Doc Seismic situation, which is self-justified, by the way, because they're probably kind of fucked without Cecil's interference there. But his reaction to that was so negative, because he knew what they did. He knew what they were capable of in the past. He doesn't want to kill him, but he doesn't want him to try and help either. So it's kind of like a dead-end situation. I don't know what Mark's ultimate thoughts on this are, because he probably hasn't worked it out himself, which I think seems to be another point the episode makes. He's not really there yet, but there's more to say about it, and it does feel a little hypocritical. He trashes his relationship with Cecil over this, right? He says, fuck you, I'm not going to work for you anymore, I'm not going to do any of this shit because you're employing people that I have personally interacted with that I know have done bad things. But the first thing that he does when he sees his dad on the fucking bug planet, whatever it's called, Thraxa, is give him a big ol' hug after he beat the fucking shit out of him and killed like 1 billion fucking people. Okay, it's not 1 billion, I'm over exaggerating, but I'm assuming you've seen the ending of season 1. So Omni-Man has done shit that is so much worse than anything Darkwing or Sinclair did in their time. Even if Sinclair's experiments are really fucked up, right? That's not even comparable to the fucking train scene alone. We know that. But the first thing he does when he sees Omni-Man is, just give him a big ol' hug. And I get it, he doesn't forgive Omni-Man in that scene. They're still family. So it makes sense. But damn, he immediately gets mad. He still questions him. There's obvious anger, confrontation that gets cut short because the Viltrumites come. But that seems just a little hypocritical. I get it. I get why. I'm not saying that I don't understand the scene, but his reaction to Darkwing and Sinclair at a first glance of, coming to understand what the situation is really pales in comparison to how he treated, like, maybe the world's biggest single-handed mass murder guy. Okay. There's not much more I can say about that without talking in loops. But Mark and Cecil's whole philosophical discussion, the Cecil quote that we got like 2 different times, maybe 3 different times that I'll remember in that episode. We can be the good guys, or we can be the guys that save the world. Well, Mark obviously disagrees with that, but I also think Mark is trying to force a kind of flawed, illogical, not logical, kind of black and white viewpoint on a world that simply can't and already does not function on those metrics. Sometimes good people do bad bad people can do good things. Bad guys, quote unquote, aren't always bad people. Go watch Wreck-It Ralph.
And if you are bad guy, but this does not mean you're bad guy.
Then the finale of that episode hits us with Oliver just straight up killing the Mauler twins, the finale of episode 3. They're villains who throughout the whole series, and from the perspective of our good guys, of Oliver, of Mark, and us as the audience, they've never done a good deed for the sake of doing it. They have no desire to lead a better life, right? The Mauler twins kill each other in an instant in situations where they probably don't even have to, realistically, just to clone another one and claim superiority. These guys have like no redeeming qualities other than bringing Run the Jewels into the soundtrack every season, which I guess isn't going to happen again. Rest in peace, the Mauler twins. You were good for one thing and you're gone. Okay. But the ending, Oliver fucking murks him, flies straight through the guy. It's crazy. And then Oliver asks Mark, why not just kill him, But really, I think he's also asking us, the audience, this. The audiences in these kind of 2 episodes, we're supposed to form our own opinion about this situation. I think when Oliver kind of looks directly at the camera, yes, he's asking Mark this, but he's also proposing this to the audience. So why not just kill him, right? Based on the information that we as the audience know, that the characters in the show know, what the Mauler twins have done, how they act, why not just kill him? But before we make a final decision there, I think we have to hark back to the beginning of, I think, episode 2. We see the 2 supervillains we've seen in the past. They were in Machine Head's penthouse. They've been doing villainous things. They try and give it up. They're together. They try and give up the lifestyle. They try and make a name for themselves, support their struggling lifestyle in a bustling city by working real shitty jobs. They try and make it work for a while and go homeless. We don't know the exact specifications of what happened, got fired, quit, whatever. And then they end up doing crime again. We can clearly see that these people have it in them to make an effort to do good or to be functioning members of society. And although you can still criticize their morally wrong actions, as in robbing a bank, even though they didn't kill anybody, they made an effort not to kill anybody, they still robbed a bank. Okay, they're breaking the law, whatever. It's also told to us that they're victims of circumstance. They're capable of being good people if they can support themselves while doing it. But at the end of the day, when it's down to the wire, they're like, fuck it, we're homeless, let's just go rob a bank. In this instance, there's a lot of questions that the audience has to ask themselves, building up on the scenes that the show shows us later. And I guess how you react to that might put you further on the side of Mark or Cecil. And then we can start by taking one step back. Was Oliver correct in just straight up murking the Mauler twins? It's not the first time they've died, but Mark wasn't happy about it. Was Oliver correct in just straight up killing them, not giving them a chance, not fucking around, just going straight for the kill? If Oliver or Mark, were just dead set on getting rid of supervillains, they thwarted the supervillains we saw at the start of that episode. The 2 dudes, if they killed them, is it a waste of potential functioning members of society? Because from their perspective, they have no idea what their lives are like outside of that bank robbery that they came to thwart. They're just, supervillains. They're just people robbing a bank. Same as Oliver saw the Mauler twins. Didn't know anything about them, just know they're committing a crime, kill them, blah, blah, blah. So if you think Oliver is justified in just murking anyone who commits a super crime, that would apply to every other supervillain, regardless of their past or personal lives or potential. If you're going to draw those kind of black and white lines, you have to be prepared to follow them. But Cecil sees the potential. He sees the potential in people. He lets people atone under, certain ramifications. Darkwing, he went a little crazy, he killed people. Now he's under government employ, being given a chance under strict watch to work for the quote-unquote good guys again. Or I guess whatever you consider Cecil at this point. I still think he's a good guy. Maybe you're more kind of morally dubious about him. Sinclair gets the ability to work on his projects, his experiments with government assistance under the contract that he does it under Cecil's supervision and guidelines, making him soldiers he'll both get the chance to continue his research and won't be, killed or locked up in a cell. So do you think Cecil is justified in giving these people who have committed awful acts a second chance, knowing what's at stake, the threat of the Viltrumite Empire? Is it valid to let these villains try and turn another leaf? And of course, this is before anyone other than, I guess, Nolan and Alan know about the 50 Viltrumites thing, right? Because at the time of making this video, we're only up to, episode 5? We had that bombshell drop, episode 4. Cecil doesn't know this yet. He just knows that there's a big fucking army of Omni-Mans out there. It makes sense to me in his position to take anyone willing to kind of add their skills or their arsenal and be like, you know what, sign them up. You don't got to go to jail. Just do what I say and we'll be fine. And it's that easy. I think it's valid. Or the asset Omni-Man could be as a powerful fighter. If Omni-Man was like, I want to atone for my extreme murder by fighting for Earth against Viltrum. If you were, I guess, Cecil, if you were in charge of making that call, would you let him? Would you tell him to, come back, take up arms? Or would you tell him to fuck off? Does he deserve a chance to atone for his incredible mass murder and destruction at the end of season 1? And, for killing the Guardians too, because that happened. Knowing what's at stake with the Viltrumite Empire. Do you need that powerhouse? Are you going to trust him? Who deserves to live? Who deserves to die? If you saw everything the two supervillains went through at the start of the episode and their little segment that they had, what if that ended with, like, Mark popping down and just tearing them apart at the last bank robbery they did? How would that make you feel? They're still supervillains. They're still robbing a bank. But it doesn't matter more that because we as the audience know more about them as people, or does it just everyone deserve a second chance? I think at the end of the day, there's no easy right answer. I think it's obviously a matter of circumstance. The intro to episode 2 only serves us the perspective of regular supervillains, regular street level. We can ask ourselves if they deserve to die for robbing a bank. I think a lot of the episode kind of goes out of its way to highlight Mark's ignorance. Obviously, without the Reaniman, the Dr. Seismic, the fucking man himself who got turbo buffed this season, his plan probably would have succeeded. Mark doesn't want to kill anyone. He doesn't want anyone to get a second chance either. So fucking lock them in a hole until they die of old age. No second chances. Like, we get it. It's a result of the trauma, but it's hard. I can't, like, get mad at Mark for getting to this point psychologically, but he is living through heavy cognitive dissonance. I think ultimately Cecil is right. He just tried explaining himself in a really shitty way. I think he broke out the reveal that he planted a bug in Mark's head, like, way too fucking early. But obviously, we know why he's like that. The same episode that this happens, we get the flashbacks of Cecil meeting Omni-Man for the first time. It was the first human he ever met. He was suspicious from the start, but he still knew him for a long fucking time. And that betrayal, the end of season 1 betrayal, that was still real. It was meaningful. Not just on the notion that Omni-Man went and killed a bunch of people, but that this was someone Cecil knew and on some level trusted enough to let him help or do what he said he was coming to do. Obviously they both fucked up. I still think Cecil's right. I think Mark he's got to get out of his cognitive dissonance. He's got to stop, quote unquote, holding back. I'm so tired of seeing him getting his fucking ass beat. And he's going to have to just start making some concessions, good guy or the guy that saves the world. I don't think that the first part, it's not really, the quote isn't about really being a good guy. I think it's more highlighting the danger of naivety, naivete, whatever the fuck, however you say that word. The good guy in the situation isn't really doing anything. Are you willing to be morally superior according to your own judgment if it results in like a terrible thing in the future happening. Like now you're not going to hire these guys, so you're even less prepared for the fucking Viltrumites that come and try and take over the planet. And you're Cecil, and you're sitting there in your chair like, you know what? You know what? I skipped out on having Omni-Man come back. I told him, no, you did some bad things. But you know, it was worth it. You're watching Earth get fucking like blown up outside your window, standing there with your hands on your hips. At least I was morally superior about the situation, because bad guys, man, it can never do nothing good. I don't know. If it got to that point, if I was in those shoes, I'd kind of feel like a fucking moron. So, yeah, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, Cecil's right. They just both fucked up the way that they explain their viewpoints. Mark needs to calm the fuck down, but so did Cecil. And Cecil was kind of the one who advanced the situation, intensified the situation is probably the right word. Bringing the fucking Reaniman out, zapping Mark in the head. Like, what the fuck did you expect him to do? Sit there like a dog and start fucking apologizing and humping your leg? You think that's how Mark was going to respond to that situation? I don't think it's bad writing for a character to do a stupid thing. We know why Cecil's acting the way that he is, but at the same time, there's just like no fucking way that was going to work. There's no fucking way that was going to do anything except turn him against you forever. But I thought the two episodes were really interesting. I like the philosophical ideas and questions they presented, and I just wanted to ramble a little bit about them. This shit says I've been talking for 17 minutes. Didn't feel like it was 17 minutes. I'll cut it down in post, but thanks for watching. If you have any opinions on this, leave them below, because I think it's a really fun conversation to have. It obviously has a lot of parallels to the real world we live in. But yeah, I don't know. Think about it and drop a comment. All right, bye.